Hello, the last few days of my recovery holiday trip to Bosnia, Serbia, and Croatia, I'm spending with my relatives in Serbia. And these last few weeks that I've been here, I spend a lot of time introspecting, lots of time in meditation and kind of just the grounding because when we are more grounded and more connected to divine, we are able to share and help others much more successfully. And during this period of time, I just keep on counting my blessings and feeling so grateful for the opportunities, for the journey, for this amazing journey that I have been on, and which probably would have not been possible without the struggles, without my injuries, without the deep despair and wanting to get better. And then in that need, kind of reconnecting with divine and really experiencing that love and understanding and support. And once that sort of happened, it kind of became clear of my purpose of helping others to reach that faster, to help people and inspire people to get through injuries, through illnesses, and kind of hold on to that hope, hold on to that love, hold on to that empathy and forgiveness. And it's really, really important to every now and then kind of get back into that space and remind yourself where you came from, because in the process we kind of stop pausing and introspecting, but we keep looking forward while we are still living and being in this moment. So I feel this was a really, really important for me to introspect and remind myself of that space where I came from and the path that I crossed so far, which enabled me to be the person I am today. And the other part is, and that was another reminder that I got during this trip, and I came across this book by Nick Vujicic. He's an Australian. If you do not and have not heard of him, get the book. Nick Vujicic, it is Living Freely or A Limitless Living. He's a best-selling author, motivational speaker, he's evangelist, he had found the God. And when you read the stories like this, when there is an obvious disability, he was born without limbs and has gone through depression and attempt of suicide, and then discovered the God and became religious, and then after that started preaching and teaching and doing the seminars. It also reminds you of your own faith, whatever religion you are. He's a Christian, but I do not necessarily connect this to a particular religion, because I believe there is a one divine force, there is a one God, there are different traditions and the ways to reach to it. So, but it also sort of reminds you of, if someone without limbs can be happy and thriving and inspiring others, it kind of puts you in perspective, because you see, your own suffering is the biggest suffering, which is normal because we are living in this body. We are living in this head. We are not living in any other body or any other head. So it's also really, really important and helpful to, when you see other stories and other people and what they have gone through or what they're still going through, to sort of give you a little mirror and put a perspective of suffering. And what I found actually particularly interesting is that he still does that. He still looks at some people because he goes into poor in a poor neighborhoods, and he brings the gospel to different schools and the different hospitals, and he kind of looks at that suffering and said, thank God I have such a great life. It could have been worse. So I feel, and this is something very interesting, because in the mind resetting and in the counseling and in the hypnotherapy, we use this quite often. It's that my own fear, my own phobia, my own discomfort, pain, suffering are the biggest, the biggest. And through a deep meditation technique or a hypnotic trance, we get into the space where we can play with that, so that we can make it even bigger, but we can make it also smaller. So, and once we sort of realize that we have a control over that, rather than it is without control or that is controlling us, we see a huge changes. The other way for this process is that we find people, situation that are so much worse to our own, which kind of help desensitize up to a point our own suffering. That doesn't mean that our suffering is any less or less real, or that we're not honoring it or giving it attention, but it sort of helps us sort of put it into a perspective that it could have been worse. Because you see, at any point of time, there is someone who's doing worse than us and has a worse circumstances than us, as well as there are people who are doing better than us. But when we are in that deep, dark space of pain, of suffering, of discomfort, we're only focusing on our deep discomfort, and then probably comparing it that everybody else has it easier, everybody else has it better, everybody else has more, or is not experiencing the same things. But the reality is that everyone has their own suffering. So when we refocus into the cases or people that we know or we heard of or we come to know thanks to the books or the social media, that are doing so much worse and yet thriving in spite of the circumstances they're in, it kind of creates a little shift in us to say, hey, if they can do it, I mean, there is this little bit of embarrassment. It's like, whoa, if they can do and thrive and do all of that, it's like, I better get off this space and get out of this space. So it kind of embarrasses us up to a point. But on the other side, it also gives us a little bit of a slap to say, oh, if they can do it, of course I can do it. And then we start having that motivation. The third part is that deep connection to divine, that everything that happens for a purpose, with a purpose. There is a larger picture which we may not be aware of right now, but that will emerge at some point of time, that we all are God's creations and we are meant to be the way we are. And when the suffering and facing the challenges and obstacles, it is what we make out of it and in spite of it, which transforms our lives into the space and the areas that we would have never thought possible. So I just wanted to share this little quick musings on the grace, on the divine's love, on connectivity, on grounding, on inspiration, and on suffering. So a little bit of everything, but they're all so very connected, because we cannot live our best life and achieve our highest purpose without being humbled, without obstacles, without challenges, without forgiveness, without grace, without love, and without embracing all that we are, and not dwelling in the past, not focusing on those challenges, but enjoying and fulfilling and moving on and being truly happy with no matter what the life has dealt and has given and sent our way. So, on that note, love and light to all.